Okay, so here we are the next day, hammering on with this cam swap here, and everything was going real smooth. I mean, it's pretty simple to get the rockers and the push rods and everything out. And obviously the next thing that I had to do was pull the crank pulley to get the timing cover off. Now on YouTube, there's got to be 1,000 cam swap videos, and I've watched a lot of them, and never have I seen anyone have any trouble getting the crank pulley bolt out. They usually just use an impact 22mm socket, pop it on there, hammer it for a while, and it just comes right off. I have used both of my impact wrenches, and I mean, this is my old snap-on one that I used to use all the time. It's like 250 pound-feet of torque or something like that. This one's an old Craftsman one that's always worked pretty well, and neither one of them will get it off. Not even close. So what I actually did was I used a big ratchet and a breaker bar, put the parking brake on, put the car in fourth gear, and all that's doing is actually, this is a little dangerous right now. I gotta either jack it up or release the parking brake or something. You can see it's actually rolling the car. The front of the jack stand's actually up in the air right now, so that's not good. But anyway, I'm going to have to come up with some kind of method of locking this motor so that I can actually put, cheater bar pressure on this bolt to break it loose, because it doesn't look like it's coming out any other way. So unfortunately, that's probably going to take a couple hours out of the day to mess with. I might be able to take my plate, my flywheel cover plate, off the front of the bell housing and come up with something to attach to the gear on the flywheel to get it to lock up. Or if I'm really lucky, maybe I can jam something in the spokes of the crank pulley. That would be easier. Okay, let me see what I can come up with. Okay, so I was able to jam my brake pad tool up in here and wedge it against the bottom of the oil pan. Probably see the dent there. And then use the cheater bar on it. That broke loose, and then took it off with the impact. So that's the bolt. Another thing, this one's also pretty different looking than the ones that I've seen on people's YouTube videos. Usually they're a bolt with a big washer. The washer is actually part of the head. This is kind of surprising, because actually one of the videos that I watched is actually this engine. He said it was in the car was a 2017 Chevy SS, which has pretty much the same L77 engine as this is, but it and all the other older LSs that I've seen videos on use they've got a bolt with a washer. So that's going to make it a little interesting. I was planning on using the washer and then something stacked on top of it to use on my puller to pull the crank pulley off. So I guess I'll just have to find something that is small enough to fit in that hole without interfering with the crank pulley, and it's strong enough to take the pushing force you need to pull the thing off. Okay, back to so the next fun thing to do is to pull the crank pulley off. I'm lucky my three-jawed puller seems to fit on there okay, and I stuffed like a 1 1/8 inch socket with a bolt that I ground the head down on the crank for the point to sit on, so it'll push out. So yeah, we'll pop that off, and it's already kind of loose, so it's actually working its way out, so that should be off in a few minutes, and then we'll take the front cover off, and probably got to go out and buy some dowels. I don't think I have any dowels to fit in there to hold the lifters up. So let me get this off, and then we'll see if we have to make a trip to buy something. Okay, we've reached the moment of truth. Got some 5/16 wooden dowels. Stuck them in the galleys there to hold the lifters up. Went to pull the cam out. It doesn't come out a whole lot further than that. You can get it out to the last bearing, but unfortunately, for it to go through the bearing, it's got to be totally level with the rest of the bearings. So, looks like we're going to be dropping the engine down a couple of inches. We'll try to do that real quick. I don't know if it's possible, but we're going to find out. Okay, there it is. It's in there. Fold down this little piece of plastic here so you can see it. That's it. Guess we can pull the dowels out now. See, they hit that steel bulkhead too, so. But you can bend the dowels a little bit. You can't really bend the cam. So here's actually what it hits. See, this is the front steel bulkhead, and I unbolted this thing, and basically you pull it down and you can get the cam, the front of the cam in there to get it far enough out. That's only after you unbolt the front sway bar, pop the steering shaft off of the rack, unbolt the back of the control arms, and the little cross member that goes in there in the basically it's right below the torque tube. That was the last thing, so that was kind of hanging it up. I could almost get the motor down far enough, not quite. It was just a little bit short. So once I took that cross member out, it was good to go. It can come down far enough. Now we'll get to see if we can put the bolts back in to the cross member. It's going to be a little dodgy. I'll probably have to put some dowels or something in there so it lines up good. There we go. Okay, more later. This thing is buttoned up pretty well now, except for the cooling system. I mean, the water pump still isn't on it, and the radiator's not in it or anything. But I figured before we end the evening, I figured we'd fire it up. real quick here. Okay, reconnected the battery, no smoke. Good sign usually. Let's see what happens. Well, don't hear any weird valve train noises, so we must have done something right. Nothing's leaking on the floor, so didn't break any fuel lines or anything. There that is. One issue we had, and I've never seen anyone talk about this before, but the pulley has the seal in the cover, but I didn't notice this till I took the torch to the pulley to expand it to put it back on. The torch thing works great, by the way, though. A minute with the torch and that thing, it just slides right on, no trouble at all. So when I was torching it, it started to smoke, and I looked, there's actually a rubber thing on there. So I'm gonna have to look into that. If it's a seal, it's probably damaged now, so I'll have to get a new one of those. So we'll figure that out tomorrow. Then we'll figure out if we're actually going to put the radiator and stuff back in it, because we might have to pull the pulley off again to fix that. Okay, well that's about it for tonight.